The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of Kevin Jordan or his guests. These gardening tips and suggestions may work for you, as well as those from alternative sources. When using any garden products or tools, read and follow all label directions. And learn how to make your yard summer strong at bewatersmart.info.
The Green Acres Garden Podcast is the podcast dedicated to helping gardeners hone their growing skills while we celebrate our love of plants. So whether you're new to growing or a seasoned gardener, you're sure to learn something new. Join the fun as we have conversations with world-class growers, passionate green thumbs, and professional garden experts from Green Acres Nursery and Supply. Listen every week. We'll answer questions you didn't know you had. Gotta eat to live, gotta grow to eat. Tell you about it when I got the time. So glad you could make it, everybody. Welcome to the show. Hope you had a great week. My name is Kevin Jordan. This is the Green Acres Garden Podcast, of course. And we have a doozy of an episode. I'm back in studio with Austin, the ace of audio. How's it going there, Austin?
Hey, Kevin, I'm doing great. And welcome back to all of our listeners. We are going to jump into a fun episode this week. It's beautiful outside, and the seasons are changing out there,
And
Kevin.
this episode's all about moisture and
Okay.
heat. And really, actually, what to do with that water, how to best have a summer-strong landscape. So we've got a guest from the Regional Water Authority, Amy Talbot. We're going to be discussing basically drought-tolerant landscaping, drip systems, just the value of mulch, of course, climate-adapted plants, the beauty of using natives when and where you can, and so much more. I had a great little sit-down, new person to the episode, to the podcast for us, a brand new interview. So I really enjoyed it, and what's nice is that actually she came bearing gifts in a way. They have a contest going on right now, and so some of our listeners may actually get excited about this. I almost wanted to join in on the fun too, but I think I'll leave it to everybody else. It is a contest for your garden, for your yard. So if you have transformed a landscape that was maybe once kind of typical, had a lawn and a tree or whatever, and now you got a tree and some shrubs and some perennial grasses or whatever, if you think you have a summer-strong landscape, you can actually go onto their website and join in the fun and enter yourself easily. It's free to join enter into the contest. And maybe your garden, your yard will be the winner. I'm kind of hearing about it got me a little juiced up because it's kind of fun to think about when you garden. You never do it like, oh, this is a competition or whatever.
Well,
you just
I'm
do
very
it.
competitive.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You.
I love it. I love competition, but I also love gardening and growing, and I've never mixed the two.
Right.
And so it's kind of fun to think about. So there might be some listeners out there. If you're interested, check it out. It's kind of fun. But on top of that, we had a great conversation, really about just the value of deep watering, slow watering, how drip systems can be so helpful to the landscape. There's so much more going on with creating a summer-strong landscape, all these different ideas and techniques that gardeners can kind of employ. Amy has a good background in that, so she's going to teach us a little bit about how to be water smart.
Yeah, and I love that. So I'm going to link in the episode description a link directly to the Make a Star of Your Summer Strong Yard competition. If you want to enter into that, there's not a lot of time left, but you do have a couple of weeks to submit your information, a little description about what makes your yard summer strong, and then you submit a photo, and it's as easy as that. So I'll go ahead and link that, and then Amy will talk about it. But before we get to that, Kevin, I want to explore kind of what does this mean to make your yard summer strong? Like, what does that mean to you?
Well, you're from Northern California.
I'm born and raised in Sacramento.
So the heat comes on real hard, real fast.
It's getting there right now.
Just recently, this last week, I swear those solar flares came down and cooked us. It cooked me, bud. It got real hot. The garden got warm. I did all my gardening in the morning, which is good advice, or later in the evening. But midday, it was scorching. So, and that can have a positive effect on some of our plants as that heat kind of dials up. And some plants, maybe not so much, but it really all kind of depends on what you do with your plants and how you care for them, from the soil you provide, from the watering and irrigation, and so much more. And so I think with that dial, that temperature, that thermometer just rising, that mercury is going through the roof. And you feel it right now. I mean,
Sure.
it's coming on. So I think this is a perfect time to have this topic discussed, to have this guest on, because you don't want to be worrying about all these topics and considerations when it's mid-June, mid-July, or into August, when it's those dog days of summer. You want to do it right now so you can have a landscape that is proper and ready for that temperature just
Yeah.
that flame.
So what would be something that somebody could do to prepare their yard for those coming scorcher days?
So if you have a landscape that's already going on, it's irrigation. So either install or repair or update, calibrate your drip. I know sometimes when I'm weeding or doing some work, maybe I tear into a line or break it, or maybe a plant has outgrown the original situation, so I increase the amount of water to a plant. Even your timer and your timing right now, it's very important to kind of play with it, understand how long you need each station to be on for. With drip, it's nice because you can do nice, long, slow waterings as opposed to overhead sprays where you start noticing runoff really quick. And I think that's kind of more into Amy's territory of avoiding that runoff, getting that water deep into the soil. So I'm telling irrigation, honestly, Austin, is going to be one of the biggest things that people can do to just ensure they're going to have a good, healthy, summer-strong garden. But there's actually a few other facets to that as well, and that could be your plant selection and choice, to the way that you actually care for those plants with adding additional mulch and the compost all the organic matter that we introduce to our soil. It really makes a big, big difference in the way that we actually kind of approach our landscape and gardening. And I think the concept for reducing our water usage kind of comes, I want everything to be brown or dead or ugly. That does not have to be the case. Brown is not the new green. The new green is green. The new green is yellow and orange and red and purples and pinks and blues and all these beautiful colors. That's a summer strong landscape.
Well, what is this term? Brown is the new green. Where does that come from?
I think it was like a concept or a campaign by
to try to reduce
by the state
water
to try to
use.
tell people, hey, let your lawns
It's
die.
okay.
We're in a drought, which where we were at the time. Luckily we've had a few years of rain, but so we still want to be efficient with our water use, but people ended up letting their lawns die, but at the same time their trees and their shrubs and all their perennials and plants that were already established and growing suffered. And so the point of all this isn't to have dead landscapes; it's to actually have beautiful, thriving, bountiful landscapes that provide us with a plethora of options, whether it's food to eat or flowers to enjoy or shade to read a book under or whatever, what have you. Our landscapes can do so much for us. We don't need to let them go barren, and we can have these lush, gorgeous oases in our own homes and in our own communities, and we can have all that with still being very efficient and being water smart all the while.
Cool. I love that. That's motivating and exciting. Brown's not exciting, right? We want full of color.
And I've done
full
it,
of life.
Austin. I will post pictures to our Facebook of the school gardens, the landscapes. We created pollinator gardens that were once just lawn. They'd water it every single day.
Oh, no.
And so now instead of watering overhead sprays, they get drip just a few times a year. All the plants are selected for drought tolerance. And they're gorgeous, they're beautiful, they're full of birds and bees and butterflies. So it can be done. So I'll post those pictures. Hopefully, I think I have some before and after.
That
so
would be
we'll prove
great.
it.
I would love to see that. That's always exciting to see. When a place transforms. So that's cool, and it's something amazing. I love that. And let's go ahead and jump into our interview now. We sat down with Amy Talbot. She's from the Regional Water Authority, and they were also a sponsor of our show.
I was
going to
say those are your people, Austin.
You
say their name every week.
In the beginning of the show, sometimes I say, learn how to make your yard summer strong. Visit bewatersmart.info. That comes from these guys. They're the best. They're fighting the good fight for water usage, and they want us to have beautiful landscapes as well. So we're going to go ahead and go to Amy. She's going to tell us about the contest and give us some water usage tips and teach us what this is all about. So here we go. We sat down with Amy Talbot at the Green Acres in Citrus Heights. Let's jump to that now. Here we go.
Amy, how's it going?
It's great.
Well, thank you so much for making time. Can you please tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do at the Regional Water Authority?
Sure. I've been at the Regional Water Authority for about 12 years as the Regional Water Efficiency Program Manager. We run a public education and public outreach program, and we also do a lot of things with grants, get a lot of grant rebate funding for everyone.
I love a good grant.
And I do like I work with water data, so I get to see how many gallons we're using, how many people.
Are we getting water smarter?
We are. So our efficiency is increasing even while our population is growing.
That's awesome
to
hear.
Which is a huge thing.
So coming from a plant nerd, self-confessed, you mentioned that you were a bit of a nerd yourself. what kind of nerd are you, and what's going on there?
Well, I would say that I'm a water nerd to your plant nerd. Why am I a water nerd? I think it's like I love looking at water data of like use data, savings data. Like we did a partnership with Urban Roots Brewery where we put in some equipment to help them save water. And when we calculated the savings, I actually converted it to number of pints of beer.
How many pints of beer did they save?
It's like a 1.2 million pints or something. I took the gallons and then converted it to like, how many pints of beer would this be? So I feel like that's probably a really good example of how and why I'm a water nerd, that I actually took that step to do that.
Amy, why do you think it is important for us to be water wise or water smart? How critical is water for our lives?
I mean, we need water to survive, and not only for us, but for animals, for wildlife, for plants, for everything. So, I mean, I think it's good to use water, but only use what you need, and it's never okay to waste it, no matter if it's raining, if we're in a drought, what have you. It's such a valuable resource that it shouldn't be wasted, and it should be used efficiently and smartly. And that's the whole crux behind our regional water efficiency program, is to educate folks and give examples and get people fired up about using this resource, as a very valuable resource, wisely.
I love it. And that resource would be your webpage and all the connected programs with it?
Yeah, so if you go to bewatersmart.info, it's a regional website. It has information about all the water suppliers here. We've got rebates there. You can go and look up by water provider and see what rebates are available to help you save water. We have what your watering days are. If you're like, is it a Tuesday, Thursday? Is it Wednesday, Monday? I can't remember. We've got all of those dates on there.
That can be helpful, actually.
Yeah.
So now I'm curious, you said it's beautiful out right now, and I totally agree. It is springtime. It doesn't get much better than this. Like I said, it is getting hotter, and you guys have a program, something, or even a concept being Summer Strong Landscaping. And can you tell me a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, basically it's a Summer Strong campaign, and we're making it into a contest. So the idea behind it is that, summers are hot here.
Oh, yeah.
And their summers are hot a lot of places throughout the United States, and you want a yard that can survive the summer heat and still look beautiful. So we're looking for Summer Strong yards that will take the heat and keep on ticking. And so we want residents to show us what their yard is, send pictures in, tell us the story about like what you did if you took out your turf and put in low water use plants. What's your story? Send us pictures. And then we evaluate them, we kind of vote on them, and then the winning top 6 to 10, depending on what we get, will go up on billboards all across the Sacramento region for the summertime. So you get to display your yard, and it'll be for everyone to see, to try to motivate others to do the same.
What are some of the best practices for people to kind of take care of their landscape during these heat waves or just during the summer months?
Yeah, so what we try to get people to do around right now is to look at their irrigation systems, like turn everything on, make sure everything's pointed where it needs to point. So you're not watering the concrete, you're not having runoff, that thing broke, one of the nozzles broke during the winter.
Happens all the time.
Turn everything on now and make sure it's set and dialed in, so that way throughout the summer when plants really need the water, not only not wasting water from runoff or whatever evaporation, that you're actually getting the water to where it needs to be. And if you do that now, you can find the problems before you just put it on automatic and you're just turning it on every Saturday at 8 a.m. And then you won't realize, because you're hopefully sleeping or doing something else, who knows, that it's actually creating runoff. So the first thing is basically do a sprinkler tune-up is the first step. And then also recognizing that in hotter temperatures, like plants like trees need more water. So often your sprinklers are not enough for even mature trees during the summertime. They need a little extra love. Even just doing a deep watering with either drip or soaker hose once a month would be good for mature trees. For young trees, you can do, again, a soaker hose or a drip, or if you don't have any of that, you can do the bucket method where you get those 5-gallon buckets from the hardware store. You put a 1/8 inch drill through about 1 inch up from the bottom. So basically put a hole in the bottom. You put it.
So the water can just weep out and just drain slowly.
And then I just put a piece of tape over it, fill it up, and then pull the tape off. And you're basically creating a drip system. out
For
of a,
cheap.
for
Yeah,
cheap.
yeah.
And then you just like move the bucket around, refill it, so that way you're doing it around the canopy. So I think giving your trees extra love in the summertime, either through soaker hoses, through drip, or through the bucket method, is definitely something we need, especially here in these hotter, dry climates. And then, for regular like lawns and landscaping, just making sure you're dialing in your system before you turn it on. And then, checking the soil before you water. So maybe you don't need to water 3 times a week. Maybe you can use a moisture meter and say, look, I got it dialed in with 2 days. I mean, the idea is that you can over or underwater anything, and plants don't like either. They need to be the right amount of water at the right time, the right rate.
What are some of the plants, or maybe even just categories of plants? What does it mean for a plant? Like if you were starting one right now, what would be some of the characteristics of some of those plants? Where would you start your search?
I mean, so on beardwatersmart.info, we do have a plant database where you can go and look up plants. We have them organized by color, by low water use, by natives. So we have
Love natives,
a lot
loves
of,
it all, love all these
so
colors, yeah.
you can kind of noodle through there and, it's like, I want a yellow plant, but I want it to be low water use. So you can go and kind of shift your way through that.
Yarrow, Achillea. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we have pictures and then kind of watering schedules and water needs and stuff. So I would encourage people just to go to our website, noodle around the plant database. But I think as a general rule, like we've been promoting low water use plants, which don't have to be native to here, but do well here. And then also native plants that, have been here for a while.
And so those like the other ones would be climate adapted, sometimes often the Mediterranean style plants where they can handle those hot, dry summers and survive through the winters.
Exactly. And that's why we don't limit it necessarily to native plants, because even if the plants aren't native here, they might do well here. And the idea is to have a beautiful, thriving garden that has a balance of native plants and then maybe plants that, are more popular, that people that aren't from here but people like. I mean, the idea is to kind of nurture people to be creative with it and not so restrictive. But obviously, native plants have a multitude of benefits that are unmatched at sometimes.
How do we water? How are people watering that's maybe being more effective than the ways that people maybe are running into some problems?
The most problematic thing people do is overwater. And so I think that's...
I've killed plants from overwatering.
Everyone has killed plants from overwatering.
Yeah, guilty.
Yeah, and underwatering also.
For sure.
So I think that's the number one thing that people do wrong is overwatering. And that's why you have like the gadgets and the smart timers to try to like zero that in to be a little bit more exact. Maybe you water like 20 times, but like very little.
Yeah.
Whereas like what the plants need is like 2 deep soakings would actually be more efficient and like actually healthier for the
penetrate
plants.
Down so those lower roots actually, yeah.
Because the roots aren't on the surface. The roots are down below. So it's like if you do one deep watering, it's better than like 4 shallow waterings. Again, I think it's trying to mimic what you would likely get from natural storms, right? If our weather was not so sporadic like it is now. You get like in Texas, where I'm from, I mean, we get storms year round. So, rain barrels work well there. You've got these natural cyclical storms that even happen in the summer.
Storm in July?
Yeah, it rains there all the time.
Wow, that's incredible.
And so, but in California, and especially in Sacramento, it's like it rains and then you don't see rain for like 6 months and you're like, what happened?
Just having like a moist spring that we've had lately, you're like, whoa, what's going on? It's raining.
Yeah, it's like you have to kind of like mimic like, okay, well, this needs water consistently. How do I do that? So I think like the slow, like it's raining, right? It's like you want rain, hopefully not like a thunderstorm, but like kind of gentle rain to slowly percolate would be ideal if we had to like create our perfect world.
How have trends moved towards in this arena, and where do you think they will go?
In terms of like landscape?
Just like how people are, just... When I grew up, we had very simple landscape. We had some lovely agapanthus and some fortnight lilies and some turf, and a couple of evergreen shrubs, and that was essentially it. And so, how from that to what we've been discussing today, with the biodiverse landscape that's utilizing mulch and drip systems and climate adapted plants, natives, all these things. How do you think that's contrasted, and is what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're definitely seeing a trend towards those more biodiverse, like low water use native plant type of landscapes. I think there's still going to be turf, but I think there's going to be less of it, and that's kind of what we're seeing. A lot of the water suppliers provide turf replacement rebates. And so kind of what we're seeing are people are participating in it. It's still like a relatively small percentage of the total customers, but we're seeing residents that do it, that now their neighbors are also participating. So you're kind of seeing this like community kind of organically grown trend. So like one neighbor will do it, they'll get the rebate. Maybe someone else on the street will also get the rebate. And then there'll be
It's a great way to get inspired too.
Right.
And just go, I saw what my neighbor did. That looks perfect. What are those plants? I will do that.
Well, exactly. And sometimes, like there'll be one rebate, but 3 other people will make the changes without it too. So you're kind of seeing this like, I don't know. It's like growing organically, which I think is great. And that's kind of how like trends happen, even in fashion and everything else. It's like you've got a leader, and then you've got people that are like, that's pretty cool. Let me do that too. So we're seeing that in the Sacramento neighborhoods too. UC Davis again has done a study to actually pinpoint which households have gotten the rebate, and then they'll do also a flyby essentially of like, okay, 5 years from now, are others in the neighborhood that didn't get the rebate also making the changes? So there's analysis.
It's like watching Bermuda grass spread from above.
Exactly, but like in a
good way. Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's kind of the future, is that we're seeing more of this kind of participation, and then also like social change. I think what spurred that is I've been here, like I said, almost a decade, and we've had a drought almost every other year.
Yeah.
We had the big one in 2015. So I think that alone, just drought conditions are really increasing people's knowledge about like the importance of water efficiency, the importance of water, where our water comes from.
Water storage,
how it's like a limited supply, climate change. So I think just the media attention alone, the messaging from suppliers, the changing marketplace, the rebates, I feel like it's all kind of like a recipe for getting us closer to this kind of social change and acceptance of like the non-traditional lawn.
What do you love most about working in this industry and getting people just fired up about planting just super lush but beautiful yet water-wise landscapes? What do you love most about it?
I feel like I'm going to be cheesy, but I really like the people I work with, because I run the regional program, and then there's local water efficiency staff, and just the group of dedicated individuals that we all like do at our own local level and regional, but work together. So it's nice to see everyone trying and kind of making their way towards educating customers more and residents. So I really feel grateful for the people that I work with, the cities and municipalities I work with. And then I think overall it's like you have a job, right? We all have to have a job. But it's something that I love and I feel is adding to the world and adding to our well-being. And I find a lot of meaning and passion in it. So,
Amy, thank you so much for making time for us. It was so cool. I really appreciate it. And I feel like much of what you talked about comes up in our podcast all the time. And because we like kind of stretching every drop and making it work, and using natives and using climate adapted plants wherever we can, so that way it's just less water, less effort, more blossoms, more blooms, bigger harvests. And I think what you guys are doing is just kind of working towards a similar goal. So I thank you so much. It was awesome. I appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me.
All right, we are back. Big thank you to Amy Talbot from the Regional Water Authority. It was such a blast to have you on the show. Thank you for coming on. And Kevin, I want to check in with you about this topic. I love this topic, being good to our water.
Feel that muscle, Austin. You feel that?
What do you got over here?
I'm summer strong, dude.
There we go.
No, I'm just teasing. I'm feeling summer strong after that interview. She was a lot of fun, and I kind of felt like
where you're preaching to the choir a little bit. It's like, yeah, she's like talking. I'm like, yeah,
She's
yeah,
on the same
I agree.
page.
Yeah, drip systems. Oh yeah, mulch. Yep, check that timer.
Can I
oh
ask
yeah,
you a question,
trees
though,
love them.
about the climate adaptive plants? 'Cause
Yeah.
it's coming up now as we're talking about. These plants are really good at not using a ton of water, which is awesome, but they're not natives, right? So
True.
we just, we're pushing natives recently with
Love
hedgerow
'em.
farms. I loved all the flowers we saw
Growing
there.
them from seed, that's going to
Yeah.
be fun. I'm actually looking forward to that, honestly, with my students. Like, I'm going to be so stoked. Like, we're going to create our own little native plant nursery, I think.
Cool.
at
Yeah,
the school.
those are coming out. I think like next week. Those are coming out soon.
Wow.
But climate. What is your view on this? Using natives versus climate adaptive with water use in mind. What do you think?
I think both are valid options for sure. Natives are awesome when you think about it. Whenever you can get your hands on some, if you can, they're a fun way to kind of integrate into your landscape for all those reasons that we talked about, for the pollinators, the beneficials, and usually they are climate adapted as well. Typically, although the right native for the right place, because California has a lot of different environments. But where you can't maybe utilize a native, the climate adapted plants for me, I think, are fantastic choices. In our garden, we have the salvias. We're growing, Spanish lavender, rosemary, and many things like that can tolerate long stretches of being without irrigation. Get some water, and then start looking good, and then they can move on. They love that. And so for me, I've had a lot of success with climate adapted plants. Beautiful. There's plenty of, probably more options, I think, in that regard. But what's nice is, although they're not native, and me, I love a good native, native plant. But the climate adapted plants, there's going to be more options, and they're going to come from regions that are scattered throughout the whole world. From the Mediterranean, South Africa has some incredible plants. A lot of our plants that you see in the nursery that enjoy our hot, dry summers are going to come from those regions. Australia is a great example as well. And so, although they're not from here, they tend to do really well. And so, like most people in California, we're all transplants.
Sure,
and so why not
sure.
our plants as well, our actual plants? And so it works out. And so I think both, you can start with natives if that's your approach, but climate adapted plants are always going to be just great options, especially because for all the reasons we listed, if you don't want to be wasting water, and you don't want to have a plant that really isn't going to be tolerant of our hot, long, dry summers, then you're going to be working harder than you need to. Like I mentioned before, we ripped out this lawn that took a lot of water, a lot of mowing, and we replaced it with a drip system. We put in, red buds. We put in, salvias and all these, different. A lot of them are Lamiaceae. The Lamiaceae family. Man, those plants they kill it here. But what's nice is the rainwater we get is awesome for right now, but then now it's starting to suck it up. So pretty soon I'll be doing some nice, long, slow waterings, and then that'll sustain the garden for weeks and weeks on end, and then do it again. And it's pretty cool. It works out really nice, and so they don't really need constant care, constant watering, constantly being saturated. So finding the right plant for the right place, just like Joe Lampel said last week.
Sure.
Great advice. It rings true this week as well.
All right. Well, big thank you to Amy again for joining us on the show. If you have a Summer Strong garden and you're ready to show it off, maybe you're feeling competitive, join that contest. Or if you're just getting started and getting inspired and you want to be water smart, go for it. This is the time to do it. Kevin, that's all the time we have this week. Go ahead and take us out.
Awesome. A lot of fun this week. Amy was a good sport, so thank you so much. I'm feeling summer strong already, Austin. You got to get back in that garden.
Getting ripped.
Get lift. Not quite, but great week. A lot of fun. Thank you to her, to our audience, for being here each and every week. We'd love it. I got to get back in my own garden. Things are turning up. I mean, I'm harvesting carrots. We got garlic coming out soon. The tomatoes are on the rise, Austin.
Nice.
Peppers are showing good growth. Basil is going crazy. So it's going to be an amazing summer. And I think other people are feeling the same way too. I mean, talking to other gardeners, we're all fired up. People are planting more than they've ever planted. It's like we're all going beyond. So we're turning it to 11 this year. I'm loving it. So please get out in your garden when and if you can, and have a great week, folks. Until then, my name's Kevin Jordan from the Green Acres Garden Podcast, wishing you an amazing week out in your gardens. Happy gardening to you all, and please never stop growing. I know it's funny. Now I'm hungry. During our talk, she kept talking about water and droughts and saving this and saving water, and I was like, man, I'm getting so thirsty right now. I'm like, I want a glass of ice water.
Well, I got water here for you, bud, when you need it.
There we go.